Crested geckos, one of the most popular reptiles out there in a hobby, and my personal choice when it comes to a beginner reptile. You know, colorful, fun to hold, and easy to care for. These geckos just all around make a great pet. Today we're going to be talking about the husbandry needs for these guys. This is going to be going over, enclosure size, heat and humidity, diet, and what to fill the tank with. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into how to take care of a crested gecko. Now for this video gets started, yes, I have made this video in the past. However, it was more of like a combination of two videos. It was like me showing off my breeders and some of my babies and doing the care video, so it was kind of mixed and mashed, and to be honest, I really didn't like how it came out. Now, I really wanted this video to be more centered towards the care of the animal and have it for my customers who have any questions on the care for their new babies, which is why I decided to make another video and kind of make it like a version 2. So with that out of the way, let's get into our first topic, which is going to be enclosure size. Going over all the enclosure sizes you're going to need, starting from the little babies that they are when you first get them to the big potatoes they turn into as adults. So when you're starting out getting your guy as a little baby, I recommend getting a very small enclosure such as the shoe boxes that we use at DBCB Exotics, or something like one of those 8x8x12 Exoterras. You're going to want a more smaller enclosure so the gecko's going to feel a lot more secure, and you're going to be able to monitor him a lot more closely, making sure he's doing well and he's happy. So then usually after a few months, once your gecko gets big enough and outgrows those small enclosures, you can definitely upgrade him to something slightly bigger. Something as an upgrade I would use is like a 5-gallon aquarium, or something like I use for this guy right here, which is the Bugarium. It's this new thing by ZooMed. They work out great for hatchlings, and I just happened to get this one for free because it's a little bit broken, but I managed to fix it. Another great one is going to be like 10-quart tubs that we use for some of our grow outs as well. Now, as your guy gets a little older and starts entering the sub-adult range, I recommend doing something like a 12x12x18 by ZooMed, or like a 10-gallon tank. And the 12x12x18 should be good for you to go until they reach their adult enclosure, which is going to be the final one that you're going to be needing. And then once your little dude is all grown up, you're going to be wanting his final enclosure, which should be an 18x18x24 ZooMed or Exoterra cage. This will be his final home where he'll be spending the rest of his happy little life. Another good substitute is going to be, if you want to do tubs versus tanks, it would be a 56-quart tub. Another great option would also be a 20-tall aquarium. Now that we know what enclosure to put your little dude in, let's dive in a little bit deeper into the husbandry needs, starting with humidity. So crested geckos range from a place called New Caledonia, which, as you guys know, is a tropical place, so their humidities is going to be a little bit higher than the usual lizard. These humidity levels are going to be anywhere from 60 to 80%. Just like with the tree frogs, I like giving a humidity drop during the day and spiking it up at night. A little bit of way how to do this is misting heavily at night to get that humidity to spike up that high during nighttime, and have it gradually drop during the day to about 50 or 60%. Now, some ways to help maintain humidity and keep it going is, of course, going to be misting 1 to 3 times a day, depending on where you live. Personally, here in Maine, I usually mist about 2 times, light misting in the morning and then a heavy one during night. Some other ways is going to be having a nice, deep, moist substrate, so anything like topsoil, cocoa, eco earth, and or peat moss is going to be great. Using an Exoterra or an aquarium and you're not able to get that humidity boost, high enough, I recommend sealing part of the screen enclosure, since they are top screened. It's really easy for the humidity just to be swept right up from the open screen, so I usually cover mine with anywhere using like plastic wrap and duct taping it down, or something like metal tape to make sure that a little bit of it's covered so that humidity stays in just a little better. We got into the humidity requirements of crested geckos. Now let's dive into heat. Now, crested geckos are pretty easy as far as heating goes. It's one of the reasons why I definitely recommend them as a beginner animal, and that's going to be as they don't really require heat. Crested geckos can thrive at room temperature, being anywhere from 72 to 78 degrees. They can be completely fine with. Just some things to monitor: if your reptile room for some reason runs very hot and it's anywhere above 80 degrees, you don't really want that for a prolonged amount of time. That will be detrimental to the animal. Now, if you happen to live in one of those cold places, you're in Antarctica, and now, if you do come from a colder area and for some reason your reptile room is not in that specified, 72 to 78 degrees, I do recommend doing some supplemental heating. That can be anywhere from like heat lamps, or maybe a heat pad, of course, plugged into a thermostat. Right, so you're talking about what to put your animal in, enclosure size ranging from a baby to an adult. We got to talking about the humidity and heat requirements about the animal. Now for the final stage is going to be what to put inside the tank. And for that, unfortunately, Almo's gonna have to get off of my hat because we're gonna be looking at a few examples around this room. Now, when you're thinking about creating a little landscape for your crested gecko, there is one thing to definitely keep in mind, is that they are an arboreal species. Now, with crested geckos being an arboreal species, you're definitely going to want to be things where they can climb. They're not going to spend a lot of time or any time on the ground, really. They're mostly going to be up in those branches, logs, and bark flats, whatever you decide to put in. A couple things I recommend for putting inside the crested gecko enclosure. First off is, of course, going to be those cork products, the cork flats and the cork rounds. They always work great. It's a really versatile item for really any reptile that you have. Any of the artificial plants come from like Zoom Ed, any of the reptile shop ones, they work great. If you are in an area where you're able to, I recommend getting some wood from outside. It's going to be the cheapest, and really you can have a lot of an easier way of getting like the materials that you need versus, spending $20 on like some ghost wood, for example. And as you guys know on this channel, but I'm gonna say it again for the new people here, by the way, thank you for subscribing, and if you haven't already and you like seeing some cool animals, don't forget, lower right hand button. But as you guys know, I am a huge fan of Bioactive, and it does work great for crested geckos. So for some of my enclosures, I definitely have some live plants. This can be anywhere from like pothos, snake plants, and then a few others like ivies and stuff like that. Just easy to care for plants that require low lighting. Plants, in my opinion, are always the best choice for any animal because it's going to be the most naturalistic thing that we can recreate for them, and especially for those tropical ones, it's going to raise that and maintain that humidity. Bioactive's not your thing, you don't really have the time, or you don't really just feel like making a planted vivarium, it's understandable. Here are a few more examples of some of my grow outs in those 12 by 12 by 18s. It's something where you can use, artificial plants and some of those cork tubes and flats to recreate a semi-naturalistic enclosure, but without any of the care of, taking care of real plants. And the last topic we're going to be talking about for crested gecko care is going to be diet requirements. Now, although crested geckos can and do eat insects, the primary diet you're going to be wanting feeding them, of course, is going to be that pre-made crested gecko diet. Now, there are a few diets out there for the crested gecko, including, you find a bunch in any pet store or online, so you're definitely going to want to do your research as far as getting them. Now, of course, the two top dogs are the ones I'm going to recommend, that's going to be Rapashi and Pangea. Now, personally at DBCB Exotics, we just use straight Pangea. I don't know why, but I just find that my crested geckos seem to like it more than the Rapashi. No digs against Rapashi. I used Rapashi for years, but I just made the switch of Pangea just because I just happened to, and they seem to enjoy it more. Now, Rapashi and Pangea do come in a multitude of different flavors. Now, that doesn't really matter too much on which ones you choose. Just be sure that it says complete gecko diet on it. Some are used as fillers, like the ones that are made for like gut loading with insects, or another one for just, the growth and breeder formula. But as far as, the original formula, banana, cranberry, apple pie, all those different flavors, it really just comes to, what your gecko really prefers. There you have it. Everything you need to know how to take care of your crested gecko. Now, if you feel that I missed anything or you'd like to add anything for yourself, I definitely feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. As always, if you liked the video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of my animals or breeding products, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at DBCB Exotics. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.